since
Well, I've
2001.
heard of it.
Okay.
But yeah, I wanted to mention how many young we had, how many consecutive years, how many we banded, what else we did, where our birds were from, how many different states. So it's sort of pay goes down there. It's great.
Good morning.
Hi,
I'm
Joe
Doug.
from WMU1.
Hi, nice to meet you. I'm Doug.
Maybe Kathy gets it. I don't think they do either. Well, that's a good question. But I do know that they're all over the world. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what happened with it. Do you know what happened? I did see that it was in. Tractor taxi here? Okay. Wow. The banding is cool. Yeah, the banding is cool. Yeah, I would think. So they weren't anything else. As long as once the mother could be on other, on the first, she's on there every morning when I go out, and then when I go onto it, sometimes during the day, and I'll go to the third one, I can see her up there.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, yeah. And then I'll look at it.
Yeah.
Everybody's saying that their name is Birdhead. There, in the elevator, we looked down and we I'm like, hey, you know what? Come on. One day, so there were that's how I figured out what they were in the building. One day, one of the parents had something in there, cloth, and they dropped it. Yeah, grab it. Like that. Yeah. Yeah, we have.
Oh, you're busy. You were talking about something.
Look at this. Do you have it on? Do you have it on? Yeah, he went up to get it. That's good. He must be. And good at counting. Yeah. Now he's going to start.
Are we allowed to?
Yes.
Good.
I have my work on and my. I'll tell you what to do.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say. How often do you get to do something?
Right.
I'm going to try to video and take. I'm going to double take.
Chilling out.
the chicks are on their way down. So I want to just say for a moment that welcome to Brady Sullivan Tower. My name is Arthur Sullivan, and it's so great to have you here to witness our most celebrated tenant in the building. It's so great. We've owned this building for 15 years, and they've been our longest surviving tenants, and I got to figure out how we keep everybody else here for more than 15 years. But it's very exciting to have this opportunity and to have the live feed, which is just great that we can all watch what's going on and how things develop, and to have them come back every year is just fantastic. And I'm sure today's going to be very exciting. And from the New Hampshire Audubon Society, obviously, is Chris and Sean, and Chris is coming down, and Doug is worth.
Chris went upstairs.
Yeah,
The check.
yeah, and Doug is the president, and Doug, you want to come over? And,
Sure.
And they got me just thinking, I'm going to help do the tagging today on, I think, one of the chicks. So I told them make sure they got me some very heavy-duty gloves. And most important, make sure they color match my outfit. So there we go. So just in case. Yeah,
Thank you,
pleasure
Arthur.
to have you, and
Thank you.
wonderful that we are able to do this one more time. So,
Thank you, Arthur.
And many more times to come. Hopefully stay around for another 15 years, right?
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Well, we should all thank Arthur for helping peregrine falcons recover here in New Hampshire. We were talking about this a little earlier. Peregrine falcons basically were gone from New Hampshire in the 1970s and 80s, and over the last 30 years or so, they've recovered for one reason. The United States Fish and Wildlife Service recognized that a lot of our eagles and hawks and other raptors were dying because of an herbicide called DDT. Once DDT was banned, these birds started to recover. And what happened was the birds would ingest their prey, and peregrine falcons eat birds. And the only way they can catch birds is if they hit them in the air. If a bird is on the ground, they're safe from peregrine falcons. But anyway, they were eating birds that were eating things that had DDT on them. The DDT over time would result in the eggs of the peregrine falcons being so thin that when the parents sat on the eggs to keep them warm, the eggs would crack and break. So that's why peregrines disappeared. That's why eagles disappeared. That's why ospreys disappeared. Now that DDT is gone, they're making an enormous recovery. In part, thanks to people who owned buildings like this who were willing to help us restore peregrine falcons, because where do peregrine falcons nest naturally? On cliffs. And so buildings like this that are high enough to give a peregrine a perch mimics their natural habitat. And because Arthur and the building managers were willing to put in an enclosure, this has been a very safe and productive nest. And Chris Martin, who will be bringing the chicks down in just a second, has for his entire career, over 25 years in New Hampshire Audubon, basically watched this nest and others in New Hampshire go from 0 success to now we have over 30 pairs. And he'll tell you more of the data, which I'm not sure about. But for 17 consecutive years, this nest has successfully raised young, and most of those years, if not all of those years, have included putting bands on their legs. And that means that we can track them for their entire lives. The bands are easy to see with binoculars, so we can see the color code and the number and letter code. And every bird banded like this around the country, because it's a nationwide effort, has a unique code. There's no bird that has ABC and another bird has ABC. So we can track individual birds from their birth to their death. And a lot of times we will get information. Oh, a peregrine falcon was hit by a car. We have the band number, so we can tell that bird was born here at Brady Sullivan Tower and it was killed in Pennsylvania, or something like that. That's the kind of information that we can use to track where the birds go and how long they live and how many nests or how many chicks they might be responsible for over time. And we've watched this effort here at Brady Sullivan for 17 years. So again, huge thank you to Arthur Sullivan and the building managers here. And I want to introduce Chris Martin of New Hampshire Audubon, who's been leading the scientific effort of this recovery for how many years, Chris?
Oh, I don't know. 30 or so. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
We brought some baby birds down to the band. They're outside in the hall right now. I don't know what Doug covered, but I just want to give you a little background about this. This is a project we do in coordination with our New Hampshire Fish and Game Department. I think Doug probably told you that these birds are state threatened. So they're on the list of special concern species that we manage. And our goal is to get as many young peregrines out into the wild as we possibly can to bolster the population. And this site in particular has been really productive over the years. In fact, it's at the top of the list for our whole state in terms of productivity. They've nested here 17 straight years, every single year without a failure, 17 years in a row. That goes back to 2001. This is the 18th year, okay? And in that time, prior to this year, 51 young peregrines have been produced from this site. That averages out to 3 a year, which is really good productivity. Every single one of those 51 fledged chicks has been ID banded, and out of the 51, we've got later information after they left the area on 25 of them. That's 50%. That's really, really good. Now, 11 of those ultimately have been found dead, but 14 of them have been found alive in various places, sometimes just in a migration mode, but oftentimes at their own breeding sites. We have children and grandchildren of these peregrines that are breeding elsewhere in New England, including a grandchild now who's the next closest nest site, which is on the 293-101 bridge at the south end of town. That's the east side, south end of town. That's really cool, you know. So that grandchild is back in the neighborhood, basically, and probably interacts with these birds intermittently. So just to give you some idea, we've had recoveries in 6 states: New Hampshire, Maine, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, and New York State. I don't know why we haven't recovered one in Vermont yet, but we haven't. They're breeding in places like Lawrence, Mass., Amherst, Mass. They've bred in Quincy, Mass. On a shipyard crane at one point when there was a big crane down there. We've had recoveries in the Bronx of a living bird on a beach taking a bath. So Windsor Locks, Connecticut, Cambridge and Boston both, and a place in Rhode Island called Napatree Point, which is on the ocean. Anyway, all throughout the area. And I just wanted to explain to you the purpose of this banding is so that we know where these birds go and how long they live and maybe how productive they are in their lives. So without any ID tags on them, you're not even sure from one year to the next that it's the same individual. So we've learned a lot from that process, and that's the point of doing this today, is to get these birds tagged so that maybe 5 years from now we'll find one of the 3 breeding somewhere in New England or beyond. Okay? So that's the purpose of that. Doug, do you have anything else you want to add?
I had a question about where they go when they migrate.
Okay.
Where do they go when they migrate?
Well, that again, we learn that from several ways. One is through the banding and sightings of the bands. And I have to say that if you're a digital photographer, you like taking pictures of wildlife, I encourage you to take really large file size images, not a 100K image, but like a 3 megabyte image of each picture frame you take, because we can blow those up sometimes and actually read the codes on those leg bands. You know, if a bird is sitting on a log on the beach or something like that, we can get information. We have gotten information anyway. So you never know. You know, maybe it's not a great picture. The wings are blurry or something like that. But if that leg is holding still, we get some good data from that. So I'm more interested in data than I am a nice picture. So anyway, we have 3 chicks this year, and the adults weren't around when we picked them up. So I'm going to bring them in here. And it's going to be noisy. They're going to make a lot of noise because they've never been through this before. We're not going to hurt them, but we're going to have Arthur Sullivan, we're going to have Doug Bechtel, and where's Kat? We're going to have Kat, all 3 partners of this group, the Brady Sullivan Properties, Single Digits, and Audubon, help me with the banding. And I just want to also say, again, the work that we're doing in this is done under contract with our state's Fish and Game Department. And so while nobody's here with a conservation officer's uniform or a badge or anything like that, Fish and Game is behind this effort and supports our work. So thank you for coming and joining us today. So let's get the show on the road. You wanna go out and tell them? Okay.
His camera's bigger than mine.
They just happened they weren't carrying you too well in the feed.
Yeah.
Can I just say a little something about our vendors today?
Sure, you can, if you want. This is Sean Guillory from New Hampshire Audubon.
Thank you. Yeah. So today, you know, in years past, we've had
Good luck.
vendors help us. Here they come. Today, our partners are going to assist us in banding. So we'll have Arthur Sullivan from Brady Sullivan. We'll have Pat Doobie from Single Digit, and Doug Richtell will help on behalf of Audubon. So, thank you.
Good. And I think I can get these guys out and just have them sit there. I always put on gloves and then I regret it.
Oh, okay. But you could get a little puncture wound. That's how it is. Yeah, that's up to you. You'll find that you'll have trouble, you know, manipulating them, but if all you're doing is holding on to them all down. Okay, good.
All right. So I gotta talk loud because there's a camera and it has audio too, right? All right. So I'm gonna get these guys out and they should behave. Just don't everybody rush to the front, please. Just stay where you are. Let me actually get a couple things out first. There were 2 eggs this year that didn't hatch. That's not unusual to have at least 1 egg that doesn't hatch. There's all kinds of reasons for that. But these eggs are about the size of a chicken egg. This is one of the eggs. It's covered with bird poop now. But so there's 2 unhatched eggs. So we had the potential, I think only 2 or 3 times in 30 years of peregrine recovery statewide have we had saved until a research organization wants to do some sort of chemical analysis. We did that around 2008 with 100 and some eggs from all over New England, peregrine eggs, and we were analyzing for a chemical called PBDE, which is a flame retardant chemical that's escaping into the environment and getting incorporated into living tissue. So we wanted to document that. So we had a research university undertake a analysis of those eggs. So this would probably in the future be part of that study, a study similar to that. So, all right, let's see if we can get all 3 of these guys out. Who wants to be first? How bad you bite? Yeah, that's one way to do it. See, if we did this earlier, like if we did this 4 or 5 days ago, these chicks would be very docile. As it is, they're a little bit mobile, and so they're strong and feisty, and they've been fighting each other for food. Not literally fighting, but competing for food. So their feet are getting stronger, their wings are starting to grow, as you see. They're beginning to get their feathers. I may do these one at a time since those guys are behaving. Okay. But the first thing we have to do is determine if they're female or male, because we have 2 different size leg bands depending on the size of the bird. These big ones for females, the small ones for male. And so the rule of thumb I always use is if the leg is smaller than the size of a pencil, it's a male. If it's fatter than a pencil, it's a female. And I'm going to pull out a second bird so you can see the difference. Okay? I might put a glove on for that too. Because this one's bigger. Did anybody watch the camera this morning? They were eating about 9 o'clock this morning. And this one didn't get very much food. See, it doesn't have a big bulging crop. The second one I'm going to pull out got most of the food. And she has a big storage area here that's undigested food.
Yeah. Wow, look at that.
Let's see if we can compare this.
Wow.
Wow.
So the size of the feet is what I'm going. The size of the leg. Come here. See the size of that leg.
Oh, yeah. Yep, yep, that's it. Yep, smaller. Yep.
No, hold on.
Are those complaints?
It's too big a pet carrier. So there we go. So we're going to do the work there. Okay. Look at the size of the toes on this one compared to that one.
Yep, yep.
Big difference
Yep,
there
big,
between
yep,
these two.
yep.
So can you imagine where these birds grow up is on cliff ledges and high structures like buildings and bridges. Can you imagine being on a 300-foot cliff on a ledge less wide than this table and growing up your first 6 weeks on that before you can fly? It's amazing what they go through. So yeah, a few little bruises. Nothing major, huh? So, all right, so you wanted the big one, huh? So we're gonna go for the female first. So get my glasses on.
Okay.
So what I'm going to have you do
Yep.
is basically just steady the bird.
Okay, yep.
Unless you want to go from there. So, we have 2 bands to put on.
Okay, yeah.
I'll put one on, and then maybe if you want to help me put the other one on.
Sure,
that'd be great.
yeah.
Okay. We have a protocol for putting these bands on. There's 2 kinds of bands. This first one, the silver one, is a federal band with a 8-digit code number on it from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. No other bird of any species has this code number. So if this band is found, we know what it's from, even if we don't have the bird there, you know. Then these color bands, there could be other color bands like this in different sizes on different species. But these are easily read when you have the bird up close. You don't have to have it in your hand. And so those 2 are linked in the database, and so we know which bird it is that way. So, and the protocol is you put the federal band on the right leg, you put the color band on the left leg, and you put it on right side up. We'll see if that goes. Okay. So I'm going to bring him over here.
Okay.
With her, I guess. So that's going on the right leg.
Okay.
And then this one is going to go on the left leg. And we're going to write it down too. So how you got? Can you see this?
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Read me that number.
194 7-3785.
You missed one. 51.
Yep.
Okay, that's going to go on the right leg.
Yep.
And we're going to put 85.
BD.
Yeah. That's going on the female. Or a female.
Yep. Yep.
And that is, I think it's 2 females. That leg's pretty big too. I don't know. We'll have to fit them and see. This is the female.
Yeah.
I'm going to turn this around.
Okay.
Let's actually do it this way. Okay.
I'm just gonna hold it.
Like that. And close the wings, but don't squeeze too tight. Okay.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Actually, that's too much.
Oh, really?
Just do this. Just do this, like where my hand is.
Okay, yeah.
And it's okay if it bites you. Don't pull away, you know. It's okay.
Oh, really? Okay.
That's good. Just like that.
Yeah.
That's good.
Okay.
Just like that.
Yeah,
You don't have to pull it out.
Yeah.
So that's the right leg. I'm gonna put this band on.
Yeah.
Left side out.
That's
That's correct. And then I have to use these pliers to crimp it down. Okay. I appreciate that help. Imagine doing this on a cliff. Fold that over. There, crimp over.
Wow. Yeah. Yep. Okay. Crimp.
And that,
That's not too tight.
no, it's not too
Yeah,
tight. It's
okay.
loose. I'm gonna
Yep.
squeeze it down just a little. So that'll stay on the rest of its life, maybe 10 years or more.
Okay, so now it's not gonna be attached.
Okay, so there you go.
Yep.
19473785 37851. Yeah.
Yeah.
On the right leg.
Yep.
And then what happened to the other band?
It's probably underneath it, right?
And I have to get one more thing out. I have to get rivets. Will you hold on to that bird for me?
Doing great.
It's right underneath it, right?
It's funny, like even though you're holding it, how it's looking.
I'll put these right here.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, and the rivet gun. Whoopsie. And the band, which is right underneath the bird.
Yeah.
You can let it stand up. Let it stand up.
Wow, so like, right.
So they don't like fast moves. They like slow and steady moves.
Wow.
That's okay. All right. So right leg, left leg. Look at this. That's so
Wow.
sweet, my
Wow.
gosh. The big. Here, look at this.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna keep it from going further back. And then leg hang. See that? This is why you have gloves on.
Yeah, right.
Out.
Yeah.
Not backwards. That doesn't hurt. Now this is the hard part. You want to hold back side?
Okay, yep.
Like that. Back stop is all you need to do. Just be a back stop.
Okay, yep.
Be a back stop. Okay?
Yep.
So these are pliable aluminum bands, and if we didn't put rivets on these other bands that don't fold over, they'd probably pry them open and take them off, or they'd fall off. So we put rivets on the flange on these bands that won't ever come out. So. I'll get it. Ooh, quiet. Wow.
Huh.
Huh.
Yeah.
What's happening now? So that's one. And then we'll do the other one here. That's another clue. Is that deep call?
Yeah.
That's the female. They have they're bigger, they have deeper voices. So that grunt sound that's a female call. The males would, if they did that, it would be a higher pitched sound. There we go. So that's on for good. All right, so anybody following these birds on the camera, 85BV is the female, okay? And I think these are both males, but we're going to have to check on that one. So, look at that. Is it up? You can't stay there. We have other ones to do. Anyway, I appreciate your help.
That's great. Thank you. That'll make a pleasure. Yeah.
Who's next?
Hi, this is Pat, Chris. How are you?
Very well, how are you?
Are you brought your own gloves too, or did he pass them off to you?
So, what I was saying is they are, they have struck talent.
Yep.
And they're getting strong. So, not having them, you probably get bloodied up a little bit. So, if you want to use those, it's fine. And I'm just going to have you be a backstop, basically, for them, okay? That's the idea. Double checking. The thing we don't want to do is put too small bands on a bird whose legs are big. Although their feet now are pretty much full size, they're not going to get much bigger, even though they're only 3.5 weeks old. This? Happy to.
Thank you.
All right. So that's a pretty small leg. So we're going to assume that was a male. And so what we have to do is record this. And I lost my glasses. I got to figure out which is the lowest code number underneath that. So these are really small numbers, but they're consecutive. Oh, they're not consecutive. This is 1, 2. Okay. So this is for the male leg. It's smaller than the bands on the female. So 816 00712 on the right leg. Okay. They ate recently. But you look like their mom. All right. Okay. 55 DS. Okay, and 2 of these. They're all ready ahead of time here. And just making sure. Which one were we going to do? Gosh. I don't know. We'll see. We'll put one on and see. Okay. We'll bring you over here, and it's going to be like this, with its back to you. Okay. Right? Yep. Like that. You don't want to squeeze them too hard. Just provide a backstop. The more you restrain them, the more they fight. So, just as little as you can, and it's going to watch me and what I'm doing. Okay. You should be fine. Okay. Yeah, it's fine. Right leg? I have to come around your side. So this will work, huh? Let's try this on for size. I need you to move that side. There you go. Let's see if that fits. Oh, that's loose. That's loose. That's good. So we're going to go with that. It's perfect. I'm just straightening it up, because once you squeeze it down, it's done. There we go. Keep all the loose edges from... Okay. You're good. Okay. You're doing a great job. Don't squeeze them. Let's see what's going on around here. I'm like so into this. Wow. one. Where'd the other one go? I got plenty of them.
You're almost done. Don't worry.
Where it is. Okay, this one like this.
The handle was a lot better than I thought they would.
Okay.
Okay.
There we go. Do you have pets?
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like you do.
I have two geckos and a ball python. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And some cats, but.
Good. All right, you can just let go and see what
All
happens.
right. Lock in. You did good. Cool.
Good. That's good.
All right.
That's
Thank
two
you
of
so
them.
much.
Oh, you're welcome.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
Nice job. You've done this before, huh?
Thank you for your support. Of course I do.
You're gonna love it.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Where's Doug? Thanks so much.
And just a shout out to, Jack for your company's condition. It provides a complimentary feed that allows the sauces to begin watching the.
Isn't that great? That's it. That's the first applause they've ever heard.
And laughter.
Yeah. All right. Let me get this one out of the way, Doug. Okay. Okay, stay put. So they're totally comfortable on edges, because this is how falcons have grown up for, centuries and centuries and centuries, is right on the edge of drop off. So this is nothing, they're not worried that there's a drop off there. It's amazing how they scramble. So if you wear gloves, you won't have this all over you. Good. But you won't get the feeling of terror. All right, so we got one more to go. It's gonna need these for sure. And that. The question is the medium one male or female? Is the question. Let's take a look. I'm gonna go around with it. You're the one, right? Yeah. Look, so this is good. Look at the feathers growing out. They are actually emerging all over the body. And see, the tail feather's an inch long already now, but it's going to be about this long. So it's got 2-3 inches to go still. And all that white is going to turn into dark feathers in the next 3 weeks. And 3 weeks from now, these birds are going to start flying. Amazing, isn't it? 3 weeks after this. Okay. Give you a chance. I'll come back there real quick. There's a risk the bird could poop. Okay?
Now you tell me.
Hi. That's really cool. Oh, that's great. Oh my goodness, what a face. That's so funny. I wasn't sure if I got
All right.
it.
Enough of that.
That's great. Enough of it.
So I just want you to be a backstop. Okay? Yeah. not necessarily a front stop. They're going to lean like that. They're going to lean back. What are you? Are you a male or a female? That looks like a thin leg. That's a small leg. Pencil. Remember the pencil roll? That's small. Smaller than a pencil. Although that one looks bigger. How can they have two different size legs? Okay, so we're going to use this other male band. Okay.
You didn't read anything to say.
Yeah, well, that's okay. We'll just, you're doing good right there. Just, keeping track of that guy. So this is 180.714. Yeah. And I'm going to have to use one of these because I haven't drilled those out. This is 56. So, for people who are trying to ID them on the camera when you can't always see the leg bands, the camera's great, but there's limits to what it can resolve, in terms of picture image. And the two males are going to be a challenge because one is 55 BS and one is 56 BS. And so the only difference is that single digit. Ooh. Get it? The 6 and the 5 are the only. Everything else is the same, so you're going to be hard pressed to tell which one is which, unless you know them so well that you can tell from the look on their face which one it is. Right? And I need this. So that's going to go on the right leg, and then this is going to go on the left leg.
How did you determine it was a male?
I was literally holding this pencil up to its leg to see if it was fatter than this or not, and it's not. So it's a male. The females have they're larger overall, including their feet. So sometimes it's a challenge to tell because of the hatch order, for example, or if the young bird is not getting so much food, it doesn't develop as fast. And so when you compare each of them to each other, it's not always a good thing to do. But we go by absolute size of the leg at this age. So, all right, so that, and I'm still slow. Okay, we're all set. There we go. I'm going to try to slip that on without that bird going after me. Let's see. You look at my hand here. All right. There we go. Come on. Peck, peck, peck.
Wow. Oh, man.
Now, the bird has me. You have the bird, and the bird has me. Almost done here. Just a little more to go.
I know. I don't think that makes as big an impact. I don't know if we should.
So on the banding, these are big tools that could do damage, but I'm holding the band, not the bird's leg. When I'm twisting, I'm holding the band itself, and that's not a problem. So if I squeeze the toes, that could hurt. That one's on. It's on the right leg. And then I'm going to come around you. You stay there. I'll just kind of rotate. Hi, guys. That's good. Perfect. Just like that. See that? Don't be so scared.
Oh, there you go. All right.
Am I going to jump off?
They follow.
A little trouble getting that one in. So we actually had to, we couldn't find the small rivets that we wanted, so we had to drill out the holes to make the holes bigger to fit the rivet. So in these stubborn situations, we use this. Hold that thing in place. going on here? There we go. Fun. That's one. This one should go on. So, let's line them up so everyone can get a picture. Could I get the 3 people that helped with the banding to join me up here? Sure. And we'll turn these guys around.
With their...
I'm not sure they're gonna face it.
They will, maybe. Alright, no, not cooperating. Alright, you guys wanna come down here?
Somebody this way.
Now they're all looking this way. Can somebody out there go like this? Hey, look out there. Hey.
If somebody walks by, I think they'll move.
Yes.
Yeah, did the camera guy go there? There we go, just for a second. Okay, look, there you go. Thank you. Alright, well, thank you guys very much for this. Yeah.
Oh, it's so cool.
Alright. So now we're up, hopefully these guys will all fledge, we'll be up to 54. And we'll maintain our average of 3 per year. So, anyway.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming.
I know.
Yeah, but they are now.
See them getting put back.
Well, I hope this is.
Yeah, I worked there 4 years ago. I did interview a couple people really quickly before everybody disperses.
Arthur, thank you.
My pleasure.
Yeah, good.
Chris, did you bring the eggs down?
Yeah, I showed them earlier.
Did you show them the size compared? It's always amazing within 3 weeks.
Compare, oh yeah, yes, that's right. Let's do that real quick. Just 3 weeks ago, each of these birds was inside this. 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
The head doesn't even fit inside that. 3 weeks ago, they were the size of this.
Still amazes me after all this time.
I think the colors are darker than yesterday.
Yeah, they're gonna get darker every day. Every day. Yeah.
Okay, I'll let him.
Yeah. Yeah. Tell him yeah. Okay. He's actually doing an interview right there, but tell him yeah.
Okay.
Oh, now the crowd is up. Look at that. Look at this. Okay, who hatched first? Who hatched second? Look at that. That size difference is pretty obvious there, isn't it?
It's like a million. Amazing. Wow, that was so exciting. That's fun.
Like meeting a celebrity, right?